Yes, it is the DPB Show. I'm David Paul Blumenshine here on Father's Day. I wish all fathers, grandfathers, surrogate fathers, father figures, anyone who invests in children for a better future. Today is the day we celebrate you. Once again, I just appreciate you tuning in to the show. We are going to ask a very serious question today, and we're going to do some deep diving to get to the bottom of this. What is a dad? We know that Matt Walsh came out with his documentary that's gone gangbusters and has been viewed a million plus times, where he asked, "What is a woman?" I believe the question that we need to ask today is, what is a dad? It is Father's Day. And once again, the text line is open at 309-451-9299. That's also the studio line. And what I put out on Facebook on my own personal social media page was this. I'm looking for fathers out there, dads who are passionate about what they're doing, or even their children. They're passionate about the fact that their father is this man in their life that has truly been the person who has given them guidance and wisdom, leadership to expand their horizons beyond what they believe they were capable of. So I'm looking for, whether it's fathers, dads, sons, daughters, I'm looking for you to contribute today. I don't have, international, national, statewide speakers lined up for this day. Obviously, most of those people are enjoying Father's Day. But I did not want to miss an opportunity to go live today on Cities 92.9 because I think it's important, because I know that there are many of you, and I want to make sure I get this out there before we go too deep into the weeds uh, about exactly, what is a dad. Um, I want to go out. I want to make sure that you guys are aware of this, and it's important because I think that a lot of people out there today on this day that we celebrate dads or Father's Day, they might not have the same experience that I've had, that many like-minded people have had. So I want to read this to you. This is from the social media page of the Fatherless Epidemic. It's actually a full-length movie. It's a free movie. So I encourage you, go out to social media, whether that be Facebook uh, or YouTube, and just put in the search, the Fatherless Epidemic. It is a great resource. And I'm going to give many more great resources, like Dr. Meg Meeker, who wrote a unbelievable book that every child, every girl, every boy, every dad, every mom should read. It's called Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. I'm going to reference that many times today in the next 2 hours. Uh, my friend John Finch, he has been on the radio show. He is a contributor here. He's from Texas. Uh, Shout out to John. John, if you're listening or if you're catching us on social media, kudos to you. He put forth a full length movie called The Father Effect, where he goes through the history of his relationship with his father. His father took his life when John was just in junior high school, and he talks about the effect that had on his own life and how he had to get to the point of understanding the man that he loved, but yet ended his life too soon for John. However, knowing his dad's story helped in the process of healing. So that is called the Father Effect movie. But I want to get back to this post put up on social media at the Fatherless Epidemic movie page. For some, Father's Day is a sad reminder of abuse, neglect, and or abandonment. I pray that the people of God would celebrate dads, but also acknowledge that there is only one perfect father. No matter what your experience with an earthly dad was like, Abba Father is waiting with open arms to adopt you. For all those led by God's Spirit are God's sons, for did not for you did not receive a spirit of slavery to fall back into fear. Instead, you received a spirit of adoption, by whom we cry out, Abba, Father. The Spirit himself testifies together with our spirit that we are God's children, and if children, also heirs, heirs of God and co-heirs with Christ, if indeed we suffer with him, so that we may also be glorified with him. That comes from Romans 8:14-17. And I liked sharing that with you at the beginning of the show. What is a dad? Because I know many of you are out there discontent with this day. And I'm hopeful that you realize that the best way to move forward in life, if you've had an experience like that, is through the healing process of understanding not to duplicate those same errors. And also leaning back on your heavenly Father. There is no perfect father out there. I'm not a perfect father. Many of the men that I acquaint myself with are not perfect fathers. They're quick to tell you they're not perfect fathers. They're flawed human beings who are trying. They are they're reaching beyond themselves. They're reaching back and into Scripture, into their faith, into guiding their family, especially in a culture like today. Um, it's not easy. So I know that right out of the gate, we got a caller, and I probably should have held off a little bit, but I want to bring the caller on. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Well, caller, what is your name?
Pam.
Oh, good, Pam. I saw that. Hello, you're in the chat too, Pam.
Yes.
Very good. Pam, we always appreciate you and everything you do, and you're a frequent chatter, not meaning you're chatty, but
Yeah.
meaning you're in the chat. But Pam, what do you think? What is a dad?
A dad is one that leaves a godly inheritance to his children. My dad's been gone 48 years, but I can look back and even only spending 14 and a half years with him, the example he set by following the Lord, attending church. A dad also supports his children. I always felt seen and heard by my father. I was an only child. My parents waited 13 years before they had me, not by choice, but he was an older dad in 1960. He was 41. Many of his peers already had children. I felt like he showed me so much care so that I, in turn, could understand God the Father as loving. I was very, very blessed to have that modeled for me. And then becoming, not having a dad then and having him pass away, I knew I had a heavenly Father, that my dad had taught me about Christian principles, and just to know that I was loved in that amount of time has carried me through. So I feel it's really important for fathers to model for their children that, and to be there and to know that they are seen and supported. I used to get like a new bathrobe if I got A's on my report card. He spent time with me. We went to the river and collected fossils. So a father invests in children.
Amen. Amen. Well, Pam, thank you for contributing today to the discussion of what is a dad. What a great story. And you know the impact that your father had on your life, even though he has been gone now for many, many decades.
Correct.
It doesn't leave you, obviously. And that hopefully is what we're going to encourage dads with today, those that are currently still with us,
Yes.
that they realize the impact, as you have said so eloquently, that it's eternal. The relationship you have with your sons or daughters is basically who they become as adults, and they will continue those same modeling, those same behaviors, and those same parenting skills um, for generations to come. So,
Right. It's a legacy. It's leaving a legacy.
amen. Amen. Well, thank you, Pam. Always appreciate you. Appreciate you staying with us on the Facebook side of things. Keep the chatting going. And
Okay.
and if you've got anything else to say, I'll see it in the chat.
Okay. Thank you, and happy Father's Day to
You're
you.
you're awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
You
Well, right out of the gate, obviously, as I said, what is a dad? I want to hear your story. You're the listener. You're the people who tune in. You jump on the chat. You give your insight. Um, Obviously, you can tell a person by the fruit they bear. Fruit is not from the outside; it's from the inside. It's what has been placed inside of you. And as I let off saying, um, we get it. There's plenty out there who have not had the best experience. However, there is an experience you can have with your heavenly Father, which will help you and guide you to a point of being a better parent, whether that's a father or a mother. I just want to really share quickly. I was looking at this from Real Clear Politics, and it was unbelievable to encounter this article. The article is addressed from Real Clear Politics, and as I say that, obviously my phone starts to reload on me. Kevin, isn't that how it goes? Well, and as you can hear, Kevin's across the way. He is with us here today on Father's Day. He is going to do his speechless show live. So we're looking forward to what Kevin has to say.
Yep.
But fatherless households, a national crisis. Now, this comes from Real Clear Politics. It's written by Larry Elder. He gives a little breakdown on, the fact that I called fatherless households America's top domestic problem, a particularly severe phenomena in the Black community, where nearly, and for those that don't know, Larry Elder is a Black man. In fact, I think he currently has now announced that he is running on the Republican side for president of the United States. That nearly 70% of kids begin their lives in households with unmarried mothers. And that's not what I was really wanting to get to. I wanted to give you a little backstory on this article that I'm pulling this information from. But he later on in the article, he breaks down uh, where this problem kind of seems to be stemming from, what has been put forth as they are studying this at all the major universities and research hospitals. It says a public health physician at Tulane Medical School, Dr. Joseph Beasley, recognized the problem and tried to do something about it. He worked out an arrangement with the heads of the OB/GYN departments, and I got a little ahead of myself. They were talking about this particular doctor was the first resident in the obstetrics and gynecology resident at the hospital in New Orleans. And this was the summer of 69. And he was the first resident in obstetrics and in gynecology. How do you say that, Kevin?
Gynecology.
Well, it is gynecology, but gynecology. It is gynecology. You're right. See, I'm getting myself twisted already because there's so much in this article, and I want to get this to you. Thank you, Kevin, for helping me to get untongue-tied. But during Hurricane Katrina, because that's where he started in Tulane Hospital, as a first-year obstetrical resident, I delivered 150 babies in 3 months. Only one of the mothers was married. Most of these girls were 11 years old. Most people do not believe me when I tell them that, unfortunately. I do not have written statistics to prove it. Obviously, there was no way 11-year-olds could serve as parents, and these babies, grandparents, tried to do the best they could. But I went on to tell you that for the reason 150 babies in such a short period of time, in 3 months. He said he tried to figure out, why is this? What can be done about it? He worked out an arrangement with the heads of the OBGYN departments at Tulane and LSU medical schools to set up a free clinic. Now, mind you, This is back in the late 60s, early 70s. We residents manned a clinic. We did free examinations, free sexual counseling. Many of these mothers did not know where these babies came from. Prescribed, they in this particular research that they were doing, and they were going to go ahead and educate people about what was going on. And the reason I bring this up, and this is what I want to talk about when we come back, is this: what is a dad? Is such a national crisis. In fact, I believe it is one of the largest epidemics going on in our culture today. As you've heard me say from behind this mic with my friend John Finch, 85% of people who are incarcerated come from fatherless homes. 85% of those in prison come from fatherless homes. But we're going to talk more about that. Obviously, we've got a lot. I want to hear from you when we come back. I want to hear your experience in what is a dad to you. And we'll do that on the other side of the break here at Cities 92.9. Oh, in the chat real quick. Are we all live on the chat, Kev? All right. See how that is transferred over. A few of you, thank you for joining us today in the chat room on Twitter, Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook. Got some commenters. Thank you, Pam. Like always, great story. Appreciate you. Then, of course, Becky says, well said, Pam. We do have one of our resident trolls in there, too. It's good to see him. I'd like to hear your what is a dad. Please don't tell me about somebody else's dad, because I don't know if you missed it, but the father effect. Like to hear your side of things. In fact, there's plenty of room in the chat. I think you're limited on characters, though, as far as how much you can put in there. But, maybe you post multiple time. But love to hear from you, uh, Levi, to see what is what your belief is as far as a dad. Tell us about your own experience. Um, it might be revealing of a lot of things. So, yeah, it's going to be a hot and heavy one today. Obviously, a beautiful day out there. Hope you're enjoying your Dad's Day, Father's Day. We're going to get into a little bit with the Father Effect movie, Meg Meeker and Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. I had a beautiful morning this morning at church. My two daughters were sitting next to me with my wife. Um, so that's awful special when, what do you want for Father's Day? Your presence, right? Not present, but presence. And that was the greatest gift I could have, is having Hannah and Cassidy next to me. But I do want to hear your stories. If you're joining us via social media, go ahead and put that in the chat. Kevin's busy on the other side of the desk working to get ready. And here we go live again. Well, happy Dad's Day. Happy Father's Day. You know, for my own personal story, and I want to hear your stories. I want to hear what you believe as a dad. I mean, culturally speaking, right now, we see what's going on around us. I mean, this stuff has been talked about for 50 years. In fact, I'm going to play some clips from Meg Meeker on an interview she had with Rachel Cruz. And many of you might know who Rachel is. She happens to be Dave Ramsey's daughter. And they've expanded, right? Beyond the Financial Peace University. There's a lot to talk about, because what makes up a household, a big part of that is finances. But it also, you have to look at, where does a person come from that has led them to where they're at in life. It's not only financial, it's spiritual, it's intellectual. And in light of what has transpired here in the last couple of years in our school board meetings, in our public school system, what our children are being exposed to, what they're being taught, Interesting point, Kevin. In all of the banter back and forth about whether it's CRT, culturally relevant teaching, or critical race theory, or social and economic education, social emotional learning is what they call it, SEL, or diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI. Isn't it interesting that in none of those conversations for this mandated curriculum, that they don't talk about the fatherhood? They don't talk about parenting. They don't talk about what it looks like, a family unit made up of a father and a mother. And it really leads you to believe that these folks from days gone by talked about it. They had a goal, and that was to take the father out of the equation. No matter how that was done, through Hollywood, where they made dads appear as if they were less than important in the conversation around the household. Dads themselves, I'm not going to let you off that easily. Um, a lot of dads just bowed out, unfortunately. Something just hit me right in the face this morning at breakfast. My wife and I went for Father's Day breakfast this morning, and our waitress was a single mom of a 2-year-old. And she talked about the fact that she grew up in a household where her dad was not a strong father, and that she was hopeful that she could keep her child's father in the mix of things. At 2 years of age, I'm hoping that that is the case. But here's the series of I guess it's generational, that we kind of see this going on, and this came up here in the last, I believe, 50 years, and it just has gone exponentially to a level that has created the fatherless epidemic, or the father effect, the father wound. Um, is that in her situation, she recognizes that. And I'm hoping that there are more young people out there recognizing how important it is to have dads in the household. In fact, I think that you've got it queued up with Rachel Cruz. I think we've got time. Let's go ahead and play. This is Rachel Cruz. She is interviewing Meg Meeker, Dr. Meg Meeker, the author of she's a pediatrician with her husband up in the Traverse City, Michigan area, and she wrote the award-winning book Strong Father, Strong Daughter. Go ahead.
I'm so excited because I have a guest with me. Meg Meeker, Dr. Meg Meeker, I should say, is here, and she is one of our speakers at our Smart Conference, and secretly like one of my most favorite people in the whole world. And you wrote a book called Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. Yes. That we're like personally obsessed with in the Cruz household. Winston read it when I was pregnant with Amelia, and he's like rereading it. Actually, he got your devotional for it. Yeah. So like everything Meg says when it comes to parenting is just incredible. So thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. I love being with you too. It's just so much fun.
Father's Day is just in a few days. Yep. It's on Sunday. And so I thought you would be the perfect guest
when we come back with this interview, because I think it's important to hear the 5 points that Meg brings up when it comes to how important dads are in their daughters' lives, and the impact, as we heard from Pam earlier, that is eternal. It's eternal, forever and a day is what I like to tell my daughters, forever and a day. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to play the video from Meg. We're hopefully going to entertain some of your stories. This is Dad's Day. I want to hear from dads. I sent a message out via Facebook this morning. I'm hoping a couple of my dads are out there listening to the DPB show. Hey, call in. You don't have to stay long in the line. I just want to hear what you're doing today, and how important it is to the role that you play in your own household. But we're going to do that when we come back here at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. I need to make my fonts bigger. On my articles on my phone, when I'm trying to pull this up, I should probably print it out and have it in 36 font or something like that. That way, I can get out gynecological obstetrics. See, I can't even say that. It's a lot of medical terminology. My daughter, Cassidy, would be better at that. She is a full-time student. That's why I think it's better to leave it at OBGYN. Oh, this is good. Looking at the chat. Thank you, everyone that's in the chat room chatting away. Appreciate you. The problem is not confined to the Black community. In 2006, the Manhattan Institute published a piece in their quarterly magazine, City Journal, by Heather McDonald, called Hispanic Family Values. Runaway illegitimacy is creating a new U.S. underclass. She wrote, Hispanic women have the highest unmarried birth rate in the country, over 3 times that of whites and Asians, and nearly 1.5 times that of Black women. According to the Centers of Disease Control, every 1,000 unmarried Hispanic women bore 92 children in 2003, the latest year of which data exists, compared with 28 children for every 1,000 unmarried white women, 22 for every 1,000 unmarried Asian women, and 66 for every 1,000 unmarried Black women. Oh, it's fascinating that most of this stuff is really commonsensical, and it blows me away how much we get caught up with the minutia of the world. And right before our eyes is most of the problems. They exist, and we are reluctant to tackle those head on. However, I'm not giving up the fight. Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm sorry, I had to watch it. I went out to it. Have you seen the third showing? Or the third show? Not the third showing, but the third show. You gotta go see it. It's good. I'm telling you, I liked it. So I liked it so much I had to go back and watch the first one. And now it seems to make sense to me. Isn't it amazing how the second one is all about his dad, Peter Quill's dad. Yes. Oh, and see, I didn't pick up on that. I had to watch the third one to figure out what the first one was about. Yeah. The second one is all about him finding his dad and realizing that his dad's kind of a butt face. Yeah. On Father's Day. Yeah. There you go. But then it talks about how, because he had father figures in his life that were other than his dad, showing he didn't really need his biological father because he had people that could fill that space, like how other people, and it could be a good message. Can people hear you not talking in your mic? It could be a good message because the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is all about. See how I did that? You always get on me for not talking to the mic. I know. I didn't want to talk much because I'm losing my voice from tailgating. Okay, here we are. We're back. That's right. Yeah, 10 seconds. Okay. Here we go. It is Father's Day, Dad's Day. Thank you for joining us here at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal, and as I always say, and beyond, because we are more than just the radio program. Thanks to our friend and colleague here, the co-host, or the host, I should say. I called you a co-host of the DPB Show. Can I do that? Gosh, I'm giving you a promotion there. Giving the host of Speechless, Kevin Ferris, across the way. He's made a way so we can be on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble, and YouTube. So go out and check those out. Subscribe, please. Boost that. Share it with friends. Let people know that today we're hopefully going to answer or have more answers to what is a dad. We want to hear your story. The studio line, text lines open, chat rooms are open on Facebook, 309-451-9299. But before we went to break, we're just starting the interview from Rachel Cruz. She is the daughter of Dave Ramsey. She's interviewing Dr. Meg Meeker, award-winning author. She's best-selling author. Her and her husband were pediatricians. They saw more about, or I should say, they saw thousands and thousands of patients over their careers. They had an opportunity. Meg utilized a lot of those visitations, those appointments that she had with young ladies to write the book, Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. But I want to get to that. But before we do, if you weren't on the Facebook side of things, Kevin and I were discussing Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep.
And I went out and saw the third movie.
I have yet to see the third.
And Kevin has not seen it, but I'm finding some insight on it because, see, people of Kevin's generation are much smarter than people of my generation. I'm convinced of that because they're able to assimilate to the fire hydrant of information that comes at them.
Mm-hmm.
People like me, I get a little bit and then I have to like take a nap to think about it. It's just, that's how it is. But I had to watch the third movie of the Guardians of the Galaxy to get back to the original one. So I went back and watched the first Guardians of the Galaxy. And now you're telling me that he went out in the second Guardians of the Galaxy in search of his father. And he came to realize that his dad was not necessarily the person that
no. So originally what happened in like the first movie and everything of Peter Quill, who's the protagonist, his mom, he's born to a mother, and she passes away from cancer
early on in his life.
Yep. And his dad leaves. And he didn't really know everything about his dad, finds out that his dad was actually an alien from another planet. And then he goes in the second movie and finds his father. His father is basically a man that just goes around to a bunch of different planets having kids with pretty much anybody. He's not a very responsible person. And he's just not.
We're talking about his dad, not Quill himself.
No. This is his father.
Once again, the apple doesn't fall, the fruit doesn't fall very far from the tree, but keep going.
But so his dad is not a very good person. And his dad starts trying to use him because his dad is actually a planet. This is so confusing to anybody who's never seen the movies, I'm sure. But his dad's actually a planet and he needs Quill and like his life form energy from being his offspring to maintain his power. Essentially.
Wow. Now I've got to go and, once again, watching the third one, then going back and watching the first one. Now I'm going to go home after the DPB show and watch the second one.
Absolutely. But how this relates to like everything that we're talking about today is what Peter Quill realizes in the whole movie is he understands that, okay, my biological dad was never going to be able to meet the expectations that I had set in my head for what a biological father would be. If anything, he was more than a letdown. But he realized then that he also had these other people in his life, the family he made and the people that served as father figures to him that might not necessarily have been biological, but were father figures and taught him a lot of those life lessons.
They were surrogates. Yeah, exactly. They were men who were willing to invest in another human being. And I think that's another critical part. And hopefully you'll get into that a little bit more into the show today. Mm-hmm. Once again, thank you for joining us always here on the DPB show Sundays from 1 to 3, whether that be a Facebook, Rumble, Twitter, or YouTube. Kevin will be with us live from 3 to 5 for Speechless.
Yep.
He's doing show prep right now. He had to because he was out at tailgating Tall Boys. I know this to be a fact because I was the one who shuttled him out there on many nights in a row. Actually, my wife gave him a ride last night. And he was hanging out with all of the Kane Browns and who else was out there?
And Jelly Roll last night, Nickelback. And we had Bailey Zimmerman the other night. A lot of great musicians.
So it sounds like Kevin might have been doing a little whooping it up.
Oh, I was singing loud, singing proud, David.
Singing. So he's 2 hours. Yeah. So I mean, I'm gonna have to save his voice here for the DPB show so that he can get through his 2 hours on Speechless. But getting back to this interview, I think we just started playing it. I want to play this out a little bit. The 5 things that fathers can do, the 5 most important things. But go ahead and roll it, Kevin.
About Father's Day and how important that fathers are. So give us just some like insight on this because I feel like it's a subject that a lot of people don't breach. It's not really talked about as much, but you are like a bulldozer in this because you're so good at this because it's what you do.
Well, I'm a bulldozer about dads for one reason. I love kids. And I've learned over 30 years how critical, and I mean critical, dads are in the health, the emotional, physical, and spiritual health of their kids. Because we know moms are important. You know, we've talked about women. We've talked about women ad nauseum for 40 years, and we've really pushed dads to the side. And now it's time to bring them back into the fold and say, we need to highlight them and we need to shine the spotlight on them, because dads are critical for the health of kids. And honestly, my experience living and watching my own husband with our own girls prompted the writing of Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters, which really hit a nerve in the country, as you know.
So if there is a woman watching this and she has a husband and they have kids, she's like, oh, I want to encourage him. What are, and she sends this video to the dad. Like, what are 3 things that dads can do if they feel lost and they're like, I don't know what to do? Like, what are 3 simple things that dads can do in a kid's life to really make a big impact?
Well, one of the most important parts of the work that I do is I try to teach dads how their kids view them. Because the way a child views their father is very different than the way a father sees himself and the way his wife may see himself as a dad. For instance, a father needs to be able to put himself behind his child's eyes and understand that a dad is the most important man in any child's life. Because a dad teaches us whether we can accept male love or be afraid of male love. Can we trust men or can we not trust men? Those are lessons we learn.
I want to make sure you guys realize that. And we're going to get to as much of this interview. It's a little longer. I know you in radio, you shouldn't play long videos, but I'm not an expert on parenthood. No one gave me a book on being a dad. Unfortunately, as I said earlier, this isn't something we teach in our schools. It's something we should be teaching. I would prefer that over some of the nonsense that they've come up with in the last 5-10 years, because ultimately we are where we are at today culturally because we have not solidified the values that this nation was founded on. Strong fathers is part of what made this nation. Strong mothers, strong fathers. And we've gone so far from that. In fact, we've tried to really take the parents out of the equation by going after the kids to make them think that their parents aren't very smart, don't know what they're doing, and have alienated the children from their parents. It's a part of it. But what Meg was saying there, I think, is critical. You know, everything that a child becomes, especially a daughter, is what she's learning from her father. And you know what? If you're sitting out there and you're itching to either comment at the chat via Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, or dial the number 309-451-9299. That takes you right into the studio, or you can text it at 309-451-9299. I'd like to hear what you think. What is a dad? What has made you a dad, a good dad? Or what makes you not so good of a dad? These are the stories we want to hear. If you're a child, obviously, we all are children of a father. That's how the program works. A mother and a father have children. That's the program for centuries. And tell us your story about the impact your father had on your life. That might not be so good. And we're here. We want to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly, because ultimately, until we start walking through that, things aren't going to get better. Go ahead, Kevin. You can roll it further.
Before we're 2 and 3 years old. But what does the research show about how good dads are for their kids? Well, there's a lot. One thing we know is that toddlers who have engaged fathers are better at problem solving. We know that dads who are engaged and spend more time with their kids before they're 3, those children, when they're tested at 3, test higher on IQ tests than kids who don't spend enough time with their dads. We know that kids who grow up with a father presence, not even a great dad, but a decent dad.
Yeah.
Those kids are, when they hit the teen years, are much less likely, statistically significantly less likely to get involved in drugs, sex, and alcohol.
Wow.
So across the board, from a physical standpoint, from an emotional standpoint, psychological standpoint, intellectual standpoint,
that's crazy.
Dads across the board give kids an enormous leg up. One of the best things that we mom can do for our children is to help them have a better relationship with their dads. And there's a lot that you can do to help.
I know that you heard that, and it is moms, and I get it. Just like this young lady that I ran into this morning at breakfast, and she was committed to doing that, right? She came from a household, and I believe she was put in my life this morning as the Holy Spirit moves through my life, and she was put there for a reason, to share her story. Her dad wasn't a very good dad. However, she had a child out of wedlock, and her 2-year-old, she was going to make sure that her child's father was a dad that was involved with his life. And she knew how important that was. And that's what Meg is saying. Moms, what can you do for your children? You can get them, directed towards dad. Dads are important. They are the anchor of the foundation of a family. There's a whole lot of scriptural references. I'm not going to go into a lot of those right now, but they're out there. If you want to go into your Google function, the importance of a father, the references to the household and fathers throughout Genesis all the way through Revelation, and how that plays itself out. It is critical. Dads, kudos to you. Hey, when we come back here at Cities 92.9, I really hope that a lot more of you will be able to reach out to us, whether that be via text message or calling the studio. I want to hear your story, the good, the bad, the ugly, because that's how we get better, right? Especially on this Father's Day. It would be so easy to come in here and talk about all the nonsense that's going on politically, because most of that is still political theater. I know that's one of my favorite sayings, political theater, because that's what it is. It's political theory. It's not reality. It's not what you're going through day in, day out. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't impact your life, because it does. You're either doing politics or politics is doing you. But what helps us to get beyond some of those crisis modes of the political world is how we're conducting ourselves as dads, how we are responding to the need for fatherhood in our culture today. So we're going to cover more of that, talk about the father effect when we come back here at Cities 92.9. My green light is on.
You're on Facebook.
I am on Facebook. I knew I was. I might have to take a break from Facebook here. The next break. What are we at right now? Okay. Well, I'm not taking a break right now, but I will be taking a break through the program. I like having the mic over here versus using Kat did this the other day. I don't know if any of you were following us on Friday. We had in studio here on the Morning Buzz, we had a gentleman who is a father of a young family. He made a pilgrimage. He's a refugee. And this, once again, I'm only telling you his story as he's told it to us. So he's a refugee, came here from Romania via Madrid, Spain, on to Mexico City, was made his way across the Rio Grande. Of course, once again, he told us that he was told that the border was open. The American dream was attainable, and he left Romania with 2 of his 6 children. Well, he actually left Romania with 1 of his 6 children. One of his children was born here in the United States, which, once again, that is a play at what they call an anchor baby, a citizen, or that if you have a baby in this country, naturally they're a citizen in the U.S. And that's not. It's a twist on the 14th Amendment. But I think we're back live here. No, I see. Minute and a half. Okay. So bottom line is go back and watch that. There has been an influx, as we're seeing throughout the state of Illinois, a lot of chatter about some of these facilities that the state is involved with via all these different agencies, because once again, that's what bureaucracies do in big government is they create big budgets, they allocate money to give to different groups, agencies, and then they start funneling that to their programs, their pet projects. One of the big pet projects they have is sanctuary state. There's a reason that we are a sanctuary state. They want to bring more people into the mix of our economy. They're already losing in record pace population out of Illinois, mostly conservatives going to conservative states because they're solidifying the conservative state, knowing that hopefully someday it'll get so bad in Illinois and California and New York and other states like it that people will finally say enough is enough. We can't continue to do this. Here we are. We're back live. Well, shout out to all you dads, superstar dads, hero dads, those that, whether it's a biological dad, a surrogate dad, just somebody who plays the role of a father in a child's life. You are the glue, man. And I don't know how to inspire you to, and I know many of you are. I'd like to inspire you to call in and tell us your story here at Cities 92.9 at 309-451-9299, 309-451-9299, or you can go over to Facebook and join the chat. We would love to hear your story, your comment. What is a dad? That's what we're talking about. It is Father's Day, and you are important. And if ever you, or I should say, if you didn't believe that before, wake up, look at what's right around us. We're seeing it manifested in so many different ways. That's what I was playing a video from one of the experts that I really lean into. None of us were given the playbook, right, on being a father and the impact that our role as a father would have on our children. I had to find the book, Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters, written by Meg Meeker, and it prodded me to even expand upon my research into the fatherless epidemic, because that's where my friend John Finch comes in. And then even greater than that, there's another gentleman who's come up with the fatherless epidemic movie, which is out there once again on social media. These things are all free resources. Like John's movie, you can go out and get The Father Effect. He tells the story of his relationship with his father, who unfortunately committed suicide when he was a young man, and how he had to learn to forgive his father, and how he did that by understanding a little bit about who his father was. His father came from a single mom household. Mom was married multiple times, had multiple partners. Obviously, generationally, that's not who John is. John is a strong father. He also is a friend of Meg Meeker's, but we've got Meg Meeker. She's talking with Rachel Cruz, and Rachel is Dave Ramsey's daughter. And you can imagine that why would the Financial Peace University, financial freedom people get into parenting of children? Because it's vitally important. We realize that most of the mistakes that are made financially are made because of households and how they were made up and what they consisted of. And you can see that manifested in today's world. I mean, the stats are in 70% of young people in the Black community are growing up in fatherless homes. 85% of the people incarcerated in our penal system, in our prisons, correctional centers across the country come from fatherless homes. Now, the manifestation of mental illness and drug abuse and promiscuity, that's also just the symptoms of the underlying behavior. But we're going to continue the interview with Meg and Rachel Cruz.
Amelia have a better relationship with her dad.
Absolutely. So simple ways, or I shouldn't say simple, but ways for dads to engage their kids is what? Like asking questions, being there, being present. Like what are just
being available, being attentive.
Yeah.
And dads have, as I said before, dads, I believe, have a leg up over mothers, because when they're home, dads focus on things more singularly than we do. They don't focus on the 8 things they need to do right now.
Yeah.
They'll focus on, okay, I'm going to do this.
Multitaskers.
And then I'll go do this. They're sequential taskers. I'm going to go mow the lawn. Then I'm going to chop wood. This is my husband. Then I'm going to chop my wood. Then I'm going to exercise. And then I'm going to go do something with one of my kids. And when they're on with one of their kids, they're on.
Yes.
Fathers bond with their children through play and through activities and through recreation. We mothers, if we see our husbands take a child out for a bike ride and then the child comes back, did you have fun with dad? Did you have fun with dad? And it goes, oh yeah, we had a ball. What'd you talk about? Oh, we didn't talk. What? Then we go and we give our husband a lecture about the fact that he needs to talk to the child while they're biking.
Totally. Yeah.
Because that's how we bond.
Right. I was going to say, that's what I
But
get.
that child comes home.
Let's go ahead and just cut that off, because I also like the term sequential taskers. I call that unitasking. You know, I can only do one thing at a time, where I'm fascinated by those folks, mostly women, not men, but there are some men that can do this. I don't know very many of them, but women can be involved in 8 things at the same time. But the fascinating part about that is, you know, when dads are out playing with their children or enjoying time with their children, they might not have those deep, you know, gut-wrenching, deep dive conversations with their sons or daughters. But once again, getting back to my point of the greatest gift that my daughters can give me is not a hammer or a drill or a gift card to Home Depot. It's a presence, their presence. And I know for many of you, the presence of your children is what you're enjoying today. And if you're enjoying your kids today, I'd love to hear what you're doing with your kids. What is a dad? Tell me your story. Tell me about your father. Tell me about, if you're a kid, tell me about your dad. I'd love to hear your stories. I want to tell you a little bit about my dad and the meaning of my relationship with my father when we come back, because my dad was passed away a year ago. And today, I have his shoes on. So I'm literally walking in my dad's shoes. And that was a gift that was given to me by my father and my mom before he passed away. But I'd like to tell you a little bit about my dad when we come back so you can hear my story. But I do want to hear your story. And we're going to do that on the other side of break here at Cities 92.9. Okay, I want to get to that father epidemic.
Are you done with that one video?
No, I'm going to play that out to the end and then get that also in under the father epidemic. Yeah, that one, it's like a minute.
Yep, I got it.
Okay. I know I'm still live. You can see me. You get a lot of stuff here when we're not on air. You get the backstory, you get the inside baseball, what Kevin and I are working on. And it is, I mean, the content of putting together a 2-hour show is pretty overwhelming. I mean, Kat does it for 15 hours a week. Well, then she has Then she has her 2-hour show. Then she her 2-hour show. So she does it 17 hours. Plus she does a plethora of different voiceovers and news and everything else. I don't know how she keeps up with it. It by no means is this easy stuff, and keeps the energy. I just saw her this morning at church, her and her boyfriend. I don't know if I can say his name out loud. I don't know if she's disclosed his name. He might have one of those radio names, Yeah, the boyfriend, formerly known as the boyfriend. Let's see if I can find this. Okay, the chat is alive. Pam, I saw you in there chatting. Hey, Dad does meat, aka Grill Master. That's a good one, Pam. I like that. That's kind of like, what is a woman? An adult female human. What is a dad? A grill master of meat. That's precious. Let's see. I will tell you, Pam, I am the grill master around my house. I don't even have to waver in that, because I always ask my wife, would you rather that we bake that, fry it, or grill it? And she says, the answer to that. Now, Pam, I have to tell you, as much as I do enjoy grilling, I can't take the scent of grill, because I don't do the gas grill. I do charcoal. I think that for being a prepper, somebody that, you never know if you're going to be able to get a thing of gas, charcoal lighter fluid and charcoal. So I'm ready. I'm prepared. And I hope I never have to use all the charcoal that I have stocked up in my garage. No, I'm just kidding, Kevin. You're acting as if I'm serious over there. The pellet smoker, yes, and he loves it. You know what? Just a real quick shout out. Nord Outdoor, that's where I first started seeing it. Is you got Nord Outdoor Power, got into the pellet grills and the wood burning, and you're right. That smoking meat is nothing like it. You're a grill master, but a smoker. And it's something. I'm just trying to find out a little bit of background on this movie, The Fatherless Epidemic movie. Let's see if we can get a name. Fatherless Epidemic documentary, free resources, media. Let's see. Oh, get involved. Heart Films. Oh my goodness. Home. Okay. Details, not rated. Fatherless. How are we doing? We're up against the 20 seconds. Here, we're going back on air. It is Dad's Day today here at Cities 92.9. This is the DPB Show. I'm David Paul Blumenshine. Thank you for joining us here on Father's Day. I hope you're out enjoying this beautiful weather out there. What a perfect day for Dad's Day, whether that's in the park, doing a cookout. You know what? One of the things that I love doing on Father's Day, I'm not necessarily the guy that wants to sit back and have people shower me with gifts or to wait on me hand and foot. I like to be the person engaged in doing that, whether that's, as we were talking about in the chat on Facebook, whether that's grilling out for my family, doing some gardening for my daughters if she needs some help around her house, because that's what dads do. That's what I believe dads do. You know, when I ask the question of you as our audience, what is a dad? You know, take it a little takeoff of Matt Walsh's "What is a woman? What is a dad?" We heard from Meg Meeker, and I want to get to the rest of her interview with Rachel Cruz. Rachel Cruz being Dave Ramsey of the Financial Peace University and Financial Freedom fame. That's Dave Ramsey. Obviously, wonderful daughter, but she has on this segment, this interview she did about 7 years ago, which is timely to today. Obviously, to go in the way back machine, we have been looking at what the cause of the fatherless home is going to do to our culture. And if ever there was a reason for what we see, not only in our public school systems, but in politics, in sports, in entertainment, it is the fatherless home, or the absent father effect to our children's lives. And it is time to rise up and to engage. And I know that many of you fathers are like, what? You know, how did we get all the way over here? Well, it's easy. I mean, Meg Meeker tells us that. And I want to continue this interview with Meg Meeker. She is a award-winning author of the book. There's only one book. She's got, I don't know, like 30 or 40 books that she's written, but you need to read, everyone, whether you're a man, woman, girl, boy, which, you know, here at Cities, we believe there is just men and women, girls and boys. That's how the lineup works. But get her book, Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. It is a must read. It is everything you need to know about the impact that fathers have on, as I said, you're either going to have girls as a father, or you obviously as a girl had a father. So with that, Kevin, go ahead and reload Meg.
My dad is the best dad. He loves me. We had so much fun. Life is good. Involve them in your day-to-day activities. If it's Saturday morning and you're going to go to get the oil changed in your car, ask your daughter to come. So and mother's like, what? Come on. She doesn't want to do that. Maybe she does. You know why? She just wants to know that her dad wants to be with her.
Okay, tell me if this is crazy, because when I was traveling, Winston texted me a picture of Amelia in a Home Depot shopping cart, and they were at a Home Depot on Saturday morning, just walking around. They didn't really have anything else to do, so they took her to Home Depot, and she was just smiling. He was like, she went and stopped waving at everyone, like she was so happy. Oh, yeah. Do you feel like even with babies, because it's my season of life, so I'm being selfish here, but even with like a baby as young as like 1, they pick it up, obviously, because of what you were just saying about even at 3. So
babies as a newborn know the difference between mom and dad. Absolutely. She knows. And what Amelia knows in that moment, deep in her character, because she'll never remember that moment, is life is good. Daddy's safe. This is fun. That's it.
Good. Oh.
Life next to my dad is really good. Now, you just hope that he didn't leave Amelia in the cart in the aisle with the screws in the nails.
Right, and goes and picks up.
And starts looking at Lego.
Yeah, that's right.
He may, but the truth of the matter is she'll probably survive.
That's right.
And be fine.
Yes. Oh, it's so great. And I love what you do, Meg. You always take, and you joked about it, but it's true. I feel like, and you've said this before, so I'm kind of copying you, but that as parents, it's like we tend to worry about things that really at the end don't matter. where we need to look more at the character issues and the character qualities of our children. So I love that you look at the bigger picture and how you are so pro dad, because I just
the
so
inside of
that.
the child. Parent the inner world of the child, not the outer world of the child. And the inner world of the child is their character, their faith, their relationships with you.
I love it. Oh my gosh, Meg. I wish I was like taking notes.
We can cut it off there, Kevin. Thank you. So, you know, how important is that? Parent the inner world of your child. We spend so much emphasis on the exterior, the external, those things that aren't eternal, but the eternal, I should say, the internal precepts of character, faith, your emotional well-being for your child, the intellectual well-being. I'd love to see a major swing back to where parents are more concerned about their child from those perspectives, rather than all of the the latest and greatest on the outside, what your child is wearing, the sports they're involved. Not to say that those things aren't important. I get it. You're they are. They're important, but not as important as like Meg just said there. And I find this fascinating. At the earliest stages of life, even in the mother's womb, those babies hear the voice of their fathers. They can differentiate between the voice of the mom and the voice of the dad. I know that to be the case. As I said, I wanted to get into a little bit of my story with my own father, who just recently passed away last year in the month of June 2nd of 2022. One of the things that, and once again, my dad was not a perfect father. In fact, I could do multiple shows on all of the imperfect things my father did, but I also could do a series of shows on all the things my dad did well. But one thing that my dad did that resonates with me, and will forever and a day, is his faith and his love for his family. It was, for my dad, it was God, family, and then the rest of the stuff came alongside. But he always was emphasizing his love for God and how much important that was, that his children also had a deep love for God, and then his family being together. My dad was similar to me when it came to presence. That's what he wanted, his children's presence. And by all means, do I miss my dad? Of course I do. But it's just a continuation, because forever and a day, my dad is eternally with me forever because of what I carry inside of me. Now, as my own experience as a father, as Meg was just pointing out, strong fathers, strong daughters. I know how important that is. I remember the time, whether it was wagon rides, going to the playground at Oakland Grade School, greeting people, being there consistently, persistently, involved in their lives. My daughters probably felt like they were cheated a little bit, right? I didn't put them into travel sports. I didn't do all of that stuff. Once again, because I know that the window was very short on parenting, being a dad. I wanted to be the influencer in their lives. I didn't want to leave that up to the culture wars. I didn't want somebody else, whether that be a teacher, not to take anything away from the teachers out there. We've got wonderful teachers, my wife being one of them. But I wanted to be the influence in their life, the person that was creating that foundation of what are the most important things. And here is a little political jab at Joe Biden. No, Joe, my daughters aren't yours, and my grandchildren aren't yours, and they're never going to be your children. They're not our children, they're my children. And I'm pretty certain, Joe, that based on what I've seen out there about your children, I guarantee you I don't want you to father my children. And that kind of scares me. And I think that's important that we realize that in our lives today as strong fathers, to create strong daughters and strong sons, is that we're watching the manifestation of craziness going on right before our very eyes. I've got another short clip. This is the director, the founder, I should say, of the Fatherless Epidemic movie, and he, I think, hits upon it better than anybody. And this is just a short clip, but Kevin's going to roll that for us, and I think he's got it right now, right, Kevin? Okay, he needs 5 seconds.
Let's break this down according to military intelligence, right? There's an acronym in counterintelligence. It's MPCOA, Enemy's Most Probable Course of Action. In other words, on a spiritual level, if I were to put myself in Satan's shoes, how would I decimate a culture? Where would I start? What would be my number one strategy? What would be my starting point? How would I go about doing it? Well, it seems to me a very logical plan to get inside the nuclear family, take out dad, and for generations to come, breed and multiply broken girls and broken boys. And those boys go out broken, and guess what they do? They hurt more girls. They hurt their children.
If you haven't had an opportunity to go out and look at the Fatherless Epidemic movie, it is free. It's out there. You can Google search it or search it on DuckDuckGo. That's my preferred search engine is DuckDuckGo right now. I'd love to use other ones, but you know how it goes. It's just like my sources for information. Truth Social. I love that, but I love the Federalist. I love Red State. I love Right Side Broadcasting. I love DC Drano. I don't seek sources such as the mainstream media because obviously part of the reason we are where we're at today, as this gentleman said, it's intentional. Our children are under attack. If you don't believe that, I mean, then you are really asleep at the wheel. But I know that many of you aren't. And I'm still looking forward to more of you calling in today because the text line, the phone line, the studio line is open at 309-451-9299. I know many of you are out enjoying your Father's Day with your family, which good for you. If you get a brief moment, hey, dial that number up. Let me know what is a dad to you. Would love to hear your story. But as he said, in the fatherless epidemic, it is strategic. It is planned out. It's calculated. They have come for our children. They know that in order to perpetuate their ideology, their way of living, their way of looking at the world, they've got to separate the children from their parents, specifically the father, because that is the greatest impact that we have on our children comes from the father, not to take anything away from motherhood. Motherhood is equally as important, but something about the father effect, the father wound, we watch it manifest itself. As I shared earlier in the show, the young lady that was our waitress this morning at the restaurant, she shared, I didn't come from a very good household with a dad. However, I'm going to make sure that my child's father stays involved in his life. That's the greatest gift you can give your children is a dad that's engaged in their children's lives. I understand fully that with the craziness of today, and I know Meg Meeker covers this, when we look at children born, I was covering some of those stats earlier from the Real Clear Politics from Larry Elder's article. The amount of children that are growing up in fatherless homes right now it's beyond an epidemic, really. It's creating the basis of what we see in whether that be at our fast food restaurants where they can't even find people to employ to get there on a consistent basis. And it gets back to my saying about like politics, right? When people say, I don't do politics, I said, well, that's okay. If you don't do politics, politics is going to do you. Well, because it creates so many offshoots. When you go to your doctor's office and they're low on staff, they can't get you in because they can't get people to show up at well-paying jobs. And I don't care what that is. I'm going to give a brief example. One of the major restaurants this morning, franchises, They have a sign on their door that says they're open at 5:30. I went to there at 5:30 and there was a caravan of cars in their parking lot. But they were driving in, they were driving away because there was nobody there. I mean, this is a sign of things to come. And this is directly related to Dad's Day. I don't know if you made the inference. Strong fathers, strong children, strong daughters, strong sons. Where else are they going to get the ability to value God, family, and country, hard work? That comes from a father figure. I know that my daughters wouldn't be able to be where they're at today without a strong father, and how vital that is to their lives. So, hey, we still have got a few segments to go. I hope to be able to walk out some of this with you. I'd love to hear your stories when we come back here at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal and Facebook. Don't forget to join us when we leave here. We're still on Facebook. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Hurt people, hurt people. That is so true. So true. My brother Mark says, Happy Father's Day, Dave. Hold on, I'm going to text him back. Say Happy Father's Day to him. Oh, that's how you work this thing. How are you doing on your show over there?
I think I got my dad coming on for the beginning.
What? Good for you. Did you do that last year too? You had your dad on. Yeah.
But I don't think it was Father's Day. It was around the time of like a family weekend or something.
Yeah. I just remember your dad being on the radio. I'd love to meet your dad sometime. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to do that other than just hearing him on the radio with you. And that's not quite me. And seeing him on social media, on Facebook. I do. I see pictures of him. I get that. So, so Kevin's doing show prep. So now you're hearing what lies ahead with Speechless. Old John Finch put up this morning, 5 hours ago. My friend John Finch, he is the author and director of his full-length film, The Father Effect. He put up the greatest legacy you can leave your kids as a father is an example of how you love and serve God and Father. He's got yesterday he posted this piece from John Eldridge. John Eldridge. Yep, here we go. We're going back all in there. Mark Levin giving us a little plug about our streaming here at Cities 92.9. Thank you, Mark. Obviously, you're right. You can stream us and you can listen to us all day long, as Mark Levin says. Thanks, Mark. You can listen to Mark definitely at 5 o'clock, but you can listen to live entertainment, live radio, live and local, however you want to phrase it. Here at Cities 929, not only do you have yours truly, the DPB Show here on Father's Day, but you have Kat Peterson. She does the Conservative Cat Show. You've got Ty Smith. You got Chandler and Swan. You've got my sidekick. Oh, he's over here. I have to point that way. That's where he's at. Kevin Ferris of Speechless. And then I cannot forget the redheaded stepchildren. Aldonzo and Dees, obviously, as they refer to themselves. I'm just not calling them names. That's their little plug for themselves. But yeah, we have it live radio, and you can stream us all day, every day through the app. Go get that. Hey, if you were on the other side, or I should say, if you were on Facebook Live with us, not on the other side, but Facebook Live, uh, we were covering my friend John Finch from The Father Effect. And John is about as dynamic as it gets. He has been at this for years, um, dealing with what he calls one of the greatest crises we face as a nation, and that's the father effect and what it has done to us and what it will continue to do to us. But John put up there the greatest legacy you can leave your kids, as this is on his Facebook page, I should say, the father effect, is that the greatest legacy you can leave your kids as a father is the example of how you love and serve God the Father. How true that is. He also goes on to cover a piece from John Eldridge, and many of you might know him. He does has a book called Wild at Heart. John has two ways a father wounds his son. Um, give you a little bit of background on that. It says the power of your presence as a father, your presence matters more than you can imagine. Every word, every action, every gesture shapes your son's view of the world and influences his self-esteem, emotional well-being, and future relationships. How true that is. I've seen plenty of broken young men walking like the Walking Dead. Some of those young men dated my daughters. I used to see it. I was hopeful that they would get their lives turned around. But some of them, they're not. They won't until they have that epiphany of doing something different than they were taught, something that was modeled for them. But it goes on to say, by being mindful, you have the opportunity to create a positive impact that will resonate throughout his life. I know a lot of what we've been talking about today here on the DPB show has been strong fathers and strong daughters, right? But it's also an impact to our sons, as John says that, and I say John Finch, as he's has shared John Eldridge's two ways that we damage our sons is nurturing emotional intelligence. Help your son develop a healthy emotional landscape. Be present, listen actively, and validate his feelings. And that's similar to our daughters. Encourage open and honest communication. Hey, dads, I know many of you are out there doing that. Share your story at 309-451-9299 via our text line or by calling into studio. But be present, listen actively, and validate his feelings. Encourage open and honest communication. By fostering emotional intelligence, you provide him with the tools to navigate life's challenges with resilience and empathy. Cultivating authentic connection, embrace quality time together, engage in activities that foster a genuine connection, such as shared hobbies, heartfelt conversations, or simply being present in the moment. Let your son know that he is seen, heard, and unconditionally loved. Your genuine interest in his life will strengthen the bond between you. You know, that's out there on John Finch's page, The Father Effect. Go out and see it. You can listen to there's a brief little video that explains this from John Eldridge. But we're going to continue this conversation on Dad's Day. I hope you're having an amazing Father's Day. The grills are fired up. The kids are around loving on their dads. Dads are loving on their kids. Keep it up. We're going to be back here for the last part of the show at Cities 92.9. I'm just a nobody trying to tell everybody, isn't that true, about somebody that saved my soul. I mean, saved my life. You know how important that is. And that's what our children want to hear, Kev.
Yep.
Kevin, you look like you were out late last night.
I was.
Look at him. Oh, look at that. And you also got, hey, Kevin, they call it sunscreen. I don't know if you ever
I did get a little burn.
I need to invest and help you out with these things. I didn't even think of it. I had a tube in my vehicle. I could have given it to you. You could carry it around with you.
I'm okay, David.
I almost feel like I should take some powder and come over there and powder your head. From my vantage point, it doesn't look that red, but boy, on the
stream, it does a little bit. I'll get my lighting fixed up after
after
you're done here.
Or get some powder. Don't they powder the face? Isn't that how they handle it?
Something like that, yeah.
So, all right. Tough run, guys. This isn't easy. I mean, this isn't an easy topic. Appreciate everybody joining in on the Facebook Lives and Twitter, Rumble, YouTube. Keep it going because the numbers are building day in, day out. Kevin,
it looks so much worse than it really is. Like I'm still mesmerized. It's not like I'm really not that red. But.
Here, should I get maybe if you put my hat on, my 17 hat? Know. Hey, many of you, does anybody know what my 17 hat means? Well, I'll tell you. Do you know what it means?
Nope.
Okay. I got it from here at Great Plains Media.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Big D and Bubba. Here I'm giving a plug to Big D and Bubba. But Big D and Bubba, am I going back on? Not yet.
No, you got it.
No, I got a couple of minutes. Big D and Bubba, they have the infamous show on the country music, and they tout that they have 17 listeners.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Of course, they've got millions of listeners, right? They're world renowned. We were trying to get them last year, but they got some traveling difficulties on the day of Tailgate and Tall Boys when they were supposed to be here. But 17, that's what that means. That's Big D and Bubba. I used to say when I launched my show 2+ years ago, I guess it's going on 3 years now, that I had 15 listeners, counting my mom and dad. Of course, my dad, I just told you earlier in the show, passed away. And my brother, Mark, who had just greeted me a happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all of my brothers, brother-in-law, Chris Davis down in Florida, my brother Tom, brother Mark, brother Joe, brother John, and myself. I think I got everybody covered there.
Yep.
Couldn't do it without you, Kevin. Thank you.
Doing my best.
You're doing it. Looking at the chat.
The adjusted lighting. Yeah, I'll fix the lighting. So the best lighting is on David right now because this is his show. So when I fix it up, I'll look a little bit better for my show.
Kevin, I'm going to have to go home and watch Kevin on Facebook Live just to see if he's improved his lighting.
Oh my gosh.
Usually I just listen to you because I can't see you. But now I
get told I got a face for radio, so.
Well, Kevin, you are well beyond your years, obviously, as I've told you before. There's very few people that can do what you do at your age.
Thank you. Well, you're about to come back. So
I know I am. Here I am live. Well, it is the last segment of the DPB show here at Cities 92.9. I hope that you've enjoyed the content today. Definitely go to our social media pages, whether that be Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble. You can listen to us there. We have an app out there. You can go to cities929.com. Our shows are always up there, posted up there on Cities. But once again, not an easy topic. It is Father's Day. It is Dad's Day. And yet, one of the biggest crises we face is fatherless homes. I mean, the irony behind this that, I wouldn't give up a chance to go live on the radio on Father's Day. Because I think if ever we're going to have a conversation about the impact that fathers have on their children's lives, it's right here at Cities. We're going to do it. You're not going to hear this kind of discussion through all the other sources of media. In fact, I challenge you, go out there, turn on the TV, turn on your podcast. I mean, you're going to have to search, right? But if you're going to put something in the search engine, put in the father effect, the father wound. These are things you need to, the mass formation psychosis of the radical left right now. You don't have to search for that. All you have to do is turn on mainstream media, the drive-by media, the legacy media, the cover-up media. What else are they called? I mean, because I'm running out of names to call them, because it is truly, as President Trump refers to it, fake news, and it is fake news. These people they can't tell the truth to get out of their way. You got the fumbling, bumbling president of ours who goes out and makes statements like there are children. Joe, who are you referring to? I mean, I understand there's rumors that, that you've had, craziness going on in your life. See, I can't even go down that road. But Joe, they're not your children. They're my children. They're your children. There's no way they're the government's children. In fact, I'm pretty certain that I don't want the government to be raising my children. As a father, what does it mean to be a dad? I saw that we had. Oh, I just looked up at the chat. I'm sorry. I'm getting caught up here. If you weren't during break, we were talking about Kevin's nice tan that he received. He's a little burnt.
It's the Irish tan, David.
There's people that are Pam's giving you advice on what you can put on it, coconut oil and aloe vera. But Kevin, this conversation, I mean, I know you've heard Biden talk about this.
Mm-hmm. And it's actually, I have plans on my show to cover the video and everything that was posted.
There you go. I didn't have to cover it on mine, because you can listen to Speechless from 3 to 5 and hear Kevin. But it is. I mean, those shortcuts of this man and what he says and what he
and it's like not the first time either. So that's like another thing, and I'll just tease it a little bit. But so this is he has multiple. So there was this one video that was released like this last week that said they're all our children.
Yes.
They're everything.
Yeah.
But he also spoke like a year ago at a teacher's award ceremony or something, or awarding a teacher, and also talked about how they're all of our children.
Yes.
And it's not the first time he says things like that all the time. And he also, I mean, like there's videos of him being pretty creepy with kids too. The sniffer, he's sniffing kids and tries to touch them weirdly.
He has a nose like old Toucan Sam from Fruit Loops, man.
Yeah.
His nose is the flavor.
It's not the only thing loopy about him.
Of children, wherever it goes, But Kevin, I guess the point that I'm trying to make here on Dad's Day is you are the protector of your children. You're the guardian. That's how we got into Guardians of the Galaxy. You're the defender.
Yeah.
I think that's your terminology. I said fighter because, that's me. I grew up with, as I just read off their names. I had 2 older brothers. I had 2 younger brothers. I was either going toe to toe with one of the older brothers, or I was trying to fend off my 2 younger brothers, because they would just tag team me.
Mm-hmm.
See? So I was right in the middle. So I just learned to fight. It was natural, and by no means am I a fighter. I believe I'm a lover. David Paul is not a fighter. I prefer.
That's why I think defender is the best term, because fighting insinuates kind of like this idea that you got to be on the offense.
Yeah.
No, you got to be a defender. Like you don't want to instigate anything that's not necessary. But if you have schools that are putting in that are teaching about sexuality from too young of an age, you need to defend your children.
You need to defend them.
If you have libraries that have pornographic material in the children's section, you need to defend your children.
You need to be a defender.
If you have drag queens coming to your church, you need to be a defender.
Yeah. Or leave the church.
But that's part of part of defending your children.
You exit the program. And I do appreciate that, because there was a comic series called The Defenders. They were right in there with the Avengers, which, avenging isn't, something.
I mean, vengeance is considered to be a poor use of your time. So.
Well, and it is. And because I agree with you, Kevin, I'm not going to go on the offensive per se when it comes to fighting. I would rather run for a fight, because ultimately, here's what you need to realize in today's time. There are desperate people that do desperate things. It would take a lot for me to get back into a brawl or a scrap like I used to have with my brothers or other people, because you don't know what you're facing, especially in today's times. I just was hearing this from one of my daughters this morning. You know, she is engaged to a law enforcement officer, and it's amazing how many people they apprehend or they chase down. Isn't it funny that all of the criminals are well armed?
Yeah.
They're all armed.
Mm-hmm.
But yet we have this concerted effort to take the firearms out of the hands of legal gun owners. And it blows me away, but it gets back to the defending. That's why I truly believe that we should avoid at all costs any physical confrontation. I don't believe in political violence. And for you screechers out there that said, yeah, but you went to the January 6th bill, the January 6th was not about political violence. I hope that someday we'll get to the bottom of what was going on there, uh, how that all manifested itself. I can only tell you from my side of the ledger, there were about 900 and or 900,000 plus people. That's my guesstimate. I don't know what the actual count. I believe it was over 1 million, but there were 900,000 plus people that went there that day to exercise their constitutional right to peacefully assemble. It's actually what President Trump said, to gather, to peacefully assemble. Never promoted violence, never promoted what happened there. However, with that said, this is my point about the firearms. We don't know what people are faced with, whether it's with mental illness. Are they carrying a gun? Do they necessarily mean to discharge a firearm? You don't want to find that out. Be a defender, be a protector of your family. Now, getting back before we run up against the break here again, we have a higher calling as dads. Um, I know many of you believe this. Many of you live this. There's still time. I'd love to hear your story. If not, the text line is another way to tell your story. So many of you have already shared that. I'm going to go through your stories here when we get off of air, because it's amazing. Like I said, I'm just dialing through them right now, looking at our chat. But you have a great responsibility. I know you know that. So the sources for today, to make sure that you guys are following along with us, the Father Effect movie is amazing. Go and seek that out via social media or YouTube channel. The Father Epidemic is another full-length documentary talking about what our young people are faced with right now in our country. The book Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters, I call it not only a must read, but it is a blueprint to show you the impact that fathers have in our culture today, especially on our young ladies out there. They set the course that can sometimes be they can't return from it. And that could be for the good or for the bad. So it's that important. So we continue this conversation, and I hope that you realize that I'm not going to let up on it, because it's gotten beyond the stage of critical. We are past that stage. Here we are approaching another school year. Once summer's out, I know that we haven't hit 4th of July yet, but summer will come, and they're ramping it up again. JB, Governor Pritzker, just signed into law another piece of legislation that allows them to keep whatever books they want in the schools. Kevin says, see, I'm giving all your material away, Kevin. Kevin is covering all the highlights. He does a better job of doing the deep dive in the research. I just do the passover, the flyover. But it's important to know that our school libraries, our public libraries, are going to continue to have this over sexualization, these books on over sexualizing our children. introducing them to things. I mean, we already know the side effects. I mean, sexually transmitted diseases over the last 10, 20 years is up to a rate that is mind-boggling. And this is because we have taken out the discussion of what it means to wait until marriage to entertain having physical intimacy at that level with someone, and how important it is, and the damage it does psychologically. I mean, you don't hear people talk about that, and we should be talking about that. I see it manifested on the streets every day. I talk to people. Go ahead.
Well,
Kev.
here's the thing that I think is kind of crazy about all this, David, is, and it's kind of hyperbole when I say it this way, but I call it state mandated homosexuality. That's how that's what this book issue is it's because it's the whole point is to make sure that these sexually explicit, and if anything,
because the title of the book is "This Book is Gay."
Yeah, well, there's that, and then I mean, much of it pushes sodomy. I mean, we hear teachers consistently coming out. I hear all the time about how teachers are talking in sex ed classes about how to do anal sex.
Yeah,
like it's absurd. And then you also have the Biden Pride event in which the transgender exposed himself. Yeah. You also had them disrespect flag code by having the pride flag at the same like level as the American
so what you're saying is
it's
Joe Biden
mandated.
took it out of the Oval Office onto the South Lawn.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, that's the degradation, right? I mean, if we're going to talk about things and have an honest conversation, we had a president who was, we don't have to repeat what happened with Monica Lewinsky in the Oval Office. That's the kind of depraved or what's the word I'm looking for? Depraved. Thank you. The depravity that exists. Now we're on the South Lawn of the White House, bare chested. I don't care if you're a trans woman. Or
no
trans
one should be
man.
shirtless. You're not in a topless beach in South America or anything.
This is the White House.
The people's house.
This is the people's house. Yes, this is where we put our president. This is not, most people don't agree with that. I sure don't agree with that. So I'm looking forward. Now, this is another thing I get to look forward to is hearing Kevin's show and also seeing whatever touch-up he gives himself with the makeup artist to take the redness from the tailgate and tall boys out. Yeah. Hey, we're going to be back after this on Dad's Day to wrap up the show. I hope you've enjoyed the content. Once again, all those resources, I'll put them up on the chat. So you can go out there and look up the Father Effect movie, the Father Epidemic movie, and Meg Meeker's Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. So critical to the future of our country. Dads, keep it up. I know many of you are being celebrated today, as you should be, but we need more of you. We need you to multiply. We need you to reach out to get a hold of a young person that's in need of a father figure, because ultimately, what we're seeing manifested out there today, I believe, is because of fatherless homes. Hey, we're going to wrap up the show when we come back here at Cities 92.9.
Yeah, a lot of that whole Pride event. I did a big video on that. I'll probably include some of it in my show today if I have time. But I mean, even Biden calling all of the Pride people that were there, that were invited, the bravest and most courageous people he had seen in a long time. And I'm like, you're literally the commander in chief of the United States military. Like, not
versus the families that had to put their children to rest on the exodus of Afghanistan.
Yeah, not to diminish like the plight of some gay Americans and their treatment in the history. Yeah, some of them have had to go through hard things, but nothing compared to what most of our veterans have had. Most, if not all, of our veterans.
It's a broken country, broken all the way around, broken at the present level of presidency, broken at the level of being a governor, broken at the level of being a mayor, township, even broken in our churches, Kevin. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. We have, there's nothing that has escaped the reaches of the radical left.
Yeah.
They have infiltrated everything. In fact, even our own conservative movement, we've been infiltrated. I know that. I mean, obviously, there are those that are just brazen about it, and they're out there. I mean, they're the ones on Twitter and social media. In fact, we had one of them in our chat room earlier on the show, and he wanted to talk about President Trump's love affair with his daughter, because that's reality. I saw her post on her dad's birthday. That was pretty cool. I mean, she put a picture of him holding her as a very young child, and the love that a dad has for his children. As far as I know, none of them are doing crack cocaine yet.
Yep.
So I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're defenders of our freedom. They're defenders of liberty, and they're defenders of this country. Thank you to the Trump family all the way around. President Trump, thank you. Not that he will hear this, but thank you for all you've done. Continue it up. Keep up the defending of our country.
You got about 40 seconds left, David.
Okay. I thought that was jumping back into it. All right. We're going to be back to wrap up the show. So basically, I'll just give a recap of where we've been
and where we're going.
And where we're going. We're going places on Father's Day here at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal.
Okay. That was really loud. I didn't mean that to be that loud. I didn't know it was going to be that loud.
It's still pretty loud. Hearing check.
We're coming back.
There we go. Oh, there's that song. Yep, this is the song I played a lot last year. This song, I can't hear this song and not think of my dad, Kevin. This is a song that I played a lot after his death. Hey, we can let this play out a little bit, can't we?
We can let this play out a little bit if you want. I don't stream the music on like Facebook or anything like that.
Scars in Heaven.
Because then we get copyrighted and then the videos get taken down.
Casting Crowns, Pam. Scars in Heaven. Sorry. So that's our audience is probably going. Well, our audience can hear it on the radio.
The radio can hear it, but I never play. I don't play it on, because if you play it on YouTube, Facebook, stuff like that, it gets copyrighted and taken down.
Scars in Heaven. Excellent song. You're right. It is, and it is. It takes me back to a year ago, like I shared with you earlier, my dad's death. For those that weren't with us, I was bragging to my daughters this morning and also to my wife that I was walking in my dad's shoes. Literally, I have a pair of shoes, Skechers, loafers, very comfortable, that my dad owned, and towards the end of his life, his feet were very swollen, and so he couldn't fit into them. And my mom asked if I would want them, and my dad said, "Yeah, I'm not wearing them." And I put those on, and I'll tell you, I hope to have them as long as I'm here on this earth, because it is a reminder that we walk in our dad's shoes. Thank you for all of the fathers out there. We celebrate you today, how important you are, especially for the ones who are engaged. You know what? Go out, encourage other dads. I try to do this with the way that I walk through on this earth, encouraging other men, whether they're younger, older, whether they themselves are married, or they might even be in high school, college. You have an opportunity to impact young men's lives, whether you realize it or not. They might not come from the same house that you came from. Theirs might be a house of cards that's falling down around them. Be the person that gets in there and energizes them, listens to them. Most importantly, listen to their story. They will tell you everything that you need to know about what has made them the person they are at this point in their life. Once you hear their story, this is my friend John Finch. He is adamant about this. Every person has a story, and you need to find out the story first. That's going to give you the ability to make a friend, be a friend, make a friend, be a friend, lead a friend in life. I say specifically, make a friend, be a friend, lead a friend to Christ. That's how important it is. But to make a friend, you've got to listen, hear their story. They have stories. Um, they will tell you their story. They're actually just eager to share. Um, Too many people out there, I call them the walking wounded. Uh, Obviously, that blends right with our discussion today with the father effect, the father wound. They are walking wounded. We see it manifested in young girls, young boys, adult women, adult men, people I encounter. You might say to yourself, that person just isn't very nice. They're not very kind. No, if you spend the time and hear them out, that shouldn't stop any of us. I mean, if the light of Christ is inside of you, you should be able to carry that smile no matter how difficult the terrain is. That's the promise, the eternal promise that forever, right? So I'm going down smiling, Kevin. I'm going to continue to smile until Jesus returns to this earth and takes us all home forever and a day. I know we're up against the end of the show. Once again, real quick, Kevin's going to be back on here after the DPB show. He's going to be hitting upon a lot of the material that I've already hit upon. But he does a much better job than I do.
That's not true. I just take it a different route.
You do take it a different route. But once again, The Father Effect is the full-length movie. The Father Epidemic is another movie. And then finally, Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. You do not want to miss an opportunity to read that book. It is for everyone. There is no one, even your teenage kids, can read Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters, because your sons will become fathers someday, hopefully, and your daughters have a father, and they will marry somebody who hopefully will be a father.
Mm-hmm.
So it allows all of us to benefit. Hey, once again, thank you. Happy Father's Day to all of you dads out there. We're going to be back next week, and we'll get back into the craziness of corruption. See, corruption's not going to go away on a day like today. So let's do our best to make this day corruption-free here at Cities 929. Hey, until next week, I wish everyone peace, shalom, shalom, until we encounter each other again.